ultimately talent matters, but the will not to quit actually matters even more. Here's the truth. You don't need to be Musk or Oprah or Mandela. You don't need to be Serena. You just need to stay. Welcome back to the Calling Code with Mina Salib, a place where we speak to and learn from people who are driven by excellence and led by faith. Today, we're talking about famous people. Just kidding. We're actually talking about what makes all those people that we know famous. The one thing that all the greats really have in common, and that's simply they don't quit. This is according to Lifehack. It says that 90% of people quit the gym after 3 months. Man, 90% of people that decide, it's time to get my health in check, time to get going, they quit the gym after 3 months. That statistic can actually be applied to most things: career goals, diets, even relationships. 90% of people typically are quitting the things that they're striving towards after a simple 3 months. Here's another crazy one. As you know, we've launched the Calling Code, this new podcast. 90% of podcasts don't get to episode 3. 1.8 million podcasts, 1.8 million podcasts quit before they even really get started. Here's the kicker. So if you actually get to 3 episodes, recording 3 episodes, thankfully we're at 5. Congratulations. Thank you all for being here and listening. You're already at the top 10% of podcasters if you just get to past 3 episodes. So the real difference between average and extraordinary, great, mediocre is often just not quitting. It's not necessarily about all the talent and the skill and all of that stuff that, over time you can actually generate, but it's really about just not quitting, staying consistent. I've been thinking a lot about this because when we started the podcast, I'm like, you know what? We're going to have all these guests. We're going to have them lined up. No problem. 52 a year, 100 a year, no problem. We got it. And then, life happens. You're like, wow, actually, okay. So we're going to get a significant amount of really cool people on this show. But at the same time, I can't bank on every single time that we're really trying to build this community and build this movement, the Calling Code movement. I can't necessarily bang on the fact that I'm going to have a guest all the time. So what do you do instead? How do you consistently make sure that you're creating a place, an environment where you're delivering real value for people, or at least we hope so. So I really thought about, okay, what does it look like? Should we just take a week off, get back on cadence? It's like, no. If you're going to be consistent, if you're going to actually want to start something, you can't, unfortunately, allow anything to get in the way of that consistency. So for us, we're really trying to do that here, right? We're trying to make sure every Thursday, 4 p.m., you can know that you're going to be delivered a piece of hopefully valuable content for you, your families, and your friends. So again, today we're talking about what makes the difference between extraordinary and average. And we'll look at a couple of examples. Some people that obviously we really all know for this exact reason they didn't give up. Take Elon Musk, for instance, and his journey with SpaceX. So I've been in the space industry for a little bit of time now. And if you don't know the story of Elon Musk, you know him maybe from Twitter, now X. You maybe know him from Tesla, and you might have a Tesla and appreciate him for that technology, or you might know him for the politics. But a lot of people know him because of his work in SpaceX and what he's done to really revolutionize the industry. Like, it would not be the same. It wouldn't even be close to what it is now without the contributions of Elon Musk and the team at SpaceX. So ultimately, that was just a level of fortitude and consistency that most people don't really understand. The early SpaceX, the launches, absolute failures, right? Rockets exploding on the pad, millions almost billions lost, critics absolutely laughing. Um, and actually, he got to one more shot before real bankruptcy. One more shot. He had one more chance to launch his what he was trying to prove out, this reusable rocket, that you can reuse rockets for multiple missions. And he had one more shot to actually launch this rocket and prove this out before he reached bankruptcy. And that last shot is actually when it worked, when the model was proven out, when they were able to understand what went right to make sure that they were able to replicate it now. And now you have SpaceX launching to outer space, multiple times a week. Forget, once a month, once a year. Multiple times a week. They've lowered the cost of these rocket launches by, I think, like 20x at this point. It's absolutely insane. And if Musk had quit after these failures, 2, 3, 4, 5 failures, we wouldn't have probably reusable rockets. We'd have no Falcon 9, we'd have no Starship, and we really wouldn't have the commercial space industry that we have now. So ultimately, like, breakthroughs that actually revolutionize humanity in general are really a result of people just deciding, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop. I believe in this enough where I'm not going to quit here. And it's pretty historic what you can do when you have that type of mentality. Take another figure. You have Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. Most people absolutely would have quit on their mission if they spent that much time in prison. And if you don't know, he was in prison in South Africa. He was seeking equality and in the country of South Africa. And honestly, this man refused to let the walls of his cell really define what his purpose was, what he was fighting for. And when he walked out, he was a symbol of justice, and he was a symbol of this idea of reconciliation and being able to kind of transform the entire nation and ultimately transform the world. So you have, if this guy who nobody would have blamed him, you got 27 years in prison, you're like, you know what, it's about time. Okay, I did my part. But that was not his thinking. He was not. He decided that it was important enough to keep going and to fight for really what he believed. So it's quite impressive when you have leaders that have that level of resilience, and ultimately that level of resilience becomes a symbol for millions around the world and the model for how you make real change. And people take that and they actually leverage that and use that in their own life. So ultimately, when you decide that you're going to stand for something, when you're going to actually sacrifice for something, you ultimately become kind of an inspiration for millions, billions of people around the world. So honestly, perseverance isn't just about a personal story. It really is the thing that can change the destiny of millions. So, shout out to Nelson Mandela. Actually, one of my favorite characters in the Bible, St. Paul, spends years in prison, right? Multiple years in prison. And he was so convicted in his faith that even in prison, he's writing epistles, right? Writing epistles, telling the world about Christ and what he did for him. And the level of, indifference to the situation, right? It's okay to be upset in the situation that you might be in. You might be sad, but to have the ability to not let it stop you from what your overall purpose and your mission is the thing that really makes the real difference, the real change. He ends up writing almost half the books in the New Testament. So, and we have Christianity as we know it now because honestly, the work of St. Paul and so many different leaders, both men and women in history that really fought for their beliefs and never gave up and never and persevered in their faith. So what an example of, like, even in prison you are so steadfast in what you believe. Both Nelson Mandela in kind of a political realm, and then you have like this idea of St. Paul in prison as well. Ultimately persevering for what they believe. And then you see this a lot with athletes. So you see this, with Michael Jordan, cut from his basketball team, could have walked away, really insisted that this is going to fuel him, and ultimately becomes the greatest player ever. Don't get me started on the greatest player ever. If you want to debate it and talk about it, no problem. We can talk about it afterwards. Hit me in the comments, whatever. Obviously, greatest basketball player ever. And you have another GOAT, Tom Brady, the 199th pick in the NFL draft. Basically, I think he was like the 6th-round pick. Nothing is really expected of this guy. Comes out of Michigan, backup of backup, and he ends up waiting his turn, waiting for an opportunity, and never lets it go. Ends up becoming the GOAT in the NFL. Wins 7 Super Bowls, and he's ends up being the most decorated quarterback in history. Ultimately, from being the pick 199. So you have these guys who use a lot of this fuel, where a lot of people would be like, you know what, man, I gave it a try. I tried my hardest. It's just not working out. I'm not getting the results I wanted. People don't believe in me. Nobody's liking my stuff. Okay, so you can use that as an excuse to give up, or you can take these examples that we learn in history. Ultimately, some of the greatest people have suffered some of the most major setbacks to get where they are. You have Serena Williams. She's faced a tremendous amount of injuries, criticisms. Grows up in LA and Compton, has his dad that pushes her and her sister to get into tennis, a sport that most people in her neighborhood were not playing. And so you could imagine the amount of perseverance her and her family in general really needed to have to get to that point. Ends up becoming one of the most dominant athletes of all time, setting records. I believe she has the most tennis major championships, and ultimately becomes an example for millions of both female and male athletes that looked to her as just a dominant athlete, an example of consistency and greatness. And then you have Oprah Winfrey. I know a lot of people, she's a little bit of an old timer, kind of hasn't been on TV in a while, but ends up being a billionaire, creating this entire entertainment empire, and honestly was fired from her first job, her first TV job. She wasn't. She was actually told she wasn't fit for TV. Imagine she just gives up and quits because somebody told her, "You're not fit for TV. I don't like your stuff. I'm not going to share your content." And she takes that, and then ultimately becomes this mogul that we all know about today. So yeah, a lot of these people had talent. They had a certain level of skill, but they didn't have a lot more talent than everybody else in their field. It's not that they had the most talent. It's just that they had the most determination, that they just never gave up when they really felt like they were called to do something or chosen to do something. Ultimately, talent matters, but the will not to quit actually matters even more. Here's the truth. You don't need to be Musk or Oprah or Mandela. You don't need to be Serena. You just need to stay consistent. So whatever you're deciding to do, and honestly, I speak to myself more about this than any of you, because honestly, I suffer from this all the time. Like, I just get lazy. So sometimes it's like, man, I haven't posted on Instagram for, you know, days, right? How am I supposed to build out this channel if you're just nobody knows about it? How am I supposed to, showcase what we're doing here if nobody knows about it? You can't actually grow unless you're actually putting in the work and you're staying consistent every single day. So again, most people give up after 3 episodes, after 3 months. If you just stay to the 6th episode, stay to the 6th month, stay to the 9th month, stay for a year, you're going to not only be in the top 10%, you'll be in the top 1% of your fields and your industries. So you can apply this to resolutions. You can apply this to your goals, your relationships. Just sticking through ends up getting you the things that you really, really want. If you're thinking about actually creating right now, something that you decided to start, try these 4 things, okay? Try these 4 things. Reflect on why you want to quit. Is it because you're lazy? Are you scared? Are you fearful? Or you're genuinely not interested? So if you're genuinely not interested in something, that might be a different conversation. You might want to reflect on why you decided to try it, or whatever it might be. But if it's laziness or fear, I want you to take a micro action right now. Post something, call a friend, find a way to hold yourself accountable right now to what you decided to start. Sometimes just one small step gets you actually moving again. Two, remember why you started, okay? Reconnect to the original vision, the why, okay? That lit the fire in you. So reconnect to the original vision, the why that lit the fire in you. Um, just recommitting allows you to kind of recall um, why you decided to do what you wanted to do. And even if it's messy, even if it's messy, even if you don't have it all figured out, just stay in the game. You're going to figure it out along the way. A lot of time when they start a football game, they use the first quarter as a feeling out quarter. Okay, what's the other team doing? How are people reacting to our plays? They use it as a feeling out, and then the rest of the game is used as a way to tactically win the game. So ultimately, you want to use the first 3 episodes, first 5 episodes, the first month, the first 2 months. Figure out what's working, what's not working. Stay in the game. Um, so that's it. Here's the calling quote for today. Don't quit before the breakthrough. Whatever you're building, your career, your health, your relationships, your journey with God, don't stop just because it's hard. The hardest things are the things that matter the most. People quit right before the blessing. Don't be the 90%. You don't want to be the 90%. You want to be the 10%. You want to be the 1%. Because your calling isn't for when it's easy, it's for when it's hard. And the only way to see it through is just don't quit. Live the life that God wants you to live. Stay blessed. Thanks for joining Call and Code today. Peace out, friends.